I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 387.
Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned.
Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. You know that's how I always start this podcast, by saying hello to all of you who are listening to me. It's a privilege to be with you today, no matter where you are in the world. And I have a lot of things that I'd like to talk about, which I say every single time because I always have a lot to talk about. But one of the things that I've been really interested in lately is I've been listening to Tara Brach, who is another Western psychologist who teaches Buddhism and who is very, very big into meditation. She's written many, many books. And I really love to listen to some of her talks, her Dharma talks on the brain. And one of the things that she was talking about this time that I wanted to share with you is that she talked about in Buddhist psychology, one of the ways that the brain and happiness is talked about is to talk about gladdening the mind, which is another way of saying how to make you happy. But I love the term gladdening your mind. And she went over 3 different ways on how you can make yourself happy by attending to your mind and make it happy. Or, as she puts it, gladdening your mind. Now, the first 2 things that she talks about, the first 2 steps, I'll go over, but I'll go over it kind of quickly because I think you know about it. But I still love it, and it's still a reminder to you to not forget to do it. So the first one is one way to gladden your mind is to point it in the direction of gratification. So, the more grateful you are, the better you feel inside of yourself. And when you feel better, you do better. And the way our minds function is that there is a negativity bias with all of our minds, which means most of us, including myself, we have inner complainers. Everything we don't like, that's kind of how we go, and everything we're afraid might happen, and all the things that could go wrong, and how, bad things might happen. And really, that's kind of the way our mind has and our brain works, is it protects us by saying, well, what about this and what about that? And we could walk around all the time looking at the negative, which is called the negativity bias. But when we talk about gladdening our mind, which means we don't point it towards the negative, which is the way that it wants to go, we point it in a direction of how we want it to go. We meaning our prefrontal cortex, we meaning the observer who's watching all of this. And those of you, if you don't understand when I say observer, it's like many, many times, especially awareness, is all about seeing what's going on in front of you. And mindfulness is about seeing what's going on in front of you without judging it. And the observer is that part of your brain that watches all of this stuff. So there's a part of you that watches you go negative and watches you go positive. And you, the observer, the prefrontal cortex, has the option to decide which way you want it to go. And when we talk about gladdening the mind, we're talking about pointing the mind in the direction that we want it to go so that we can create more of the feeling of happiness. So, in the model that I talk about all the times, that our thoughts create our feelings and our feelings create our actions and our actions create our results, this is not far from that. What you think creates how you feel. Where you point your mind to what you want to think is how you create a feeling. So when we're gladdening our mind, the first thing that she talks about is to be grateful and to think of 3 things every day that you're grateful for. I know you have probably heard this before, so I'm just reminding you right now for you to think about 3 things that you're grateful for. Because listen, when she was talking about this, I go, yeah, I know. But I don't do it every day. I don't do it all the time. In fact, sometimes I let my mind do its inner complaining and run towards the negative and scare the heck out of me. I just let it do it. I forget. And so do you. So this is a reminder right now for you to think of 3 things that you're grateful for right now in this minute. It won't take you any longer than 30 seconds for you to decide what you want to be grateful for today. And listen, if you're in the car and you're driving, you can be grateful you have a car. If you're out walking, I know a lot of you like to walk with me. Well, you can be grateful that your legs are working. And you know what? You just might be grateful that you can hear me. But I mean, it's so easy to point our minds that way once we get it out of the guck of negativity. Okay, so number 1, the way you gladden your mind is you think of 3 things that you're grateful for. The second step Tara Brach was talking about was to be kind and to give. So to give to people who are less fortunate, give to people who are suffering, to get you out of your own mind, because a lot of times our brains can become very self-absorbed with ourselves. And usually when our brains do that, our brains do not point us to joy, and happiness. Our brains point us to all the things that are wrong, brings out the inner complainer, and sees everything that's not right, every place you're not doing enough, and how everything could be better if you could just change yourself. That's the nature of the mind. You don't want your mind going that way, and it doesn't have to. So the second thing that she says is to be kind and to give to others who are suffering. And what she says, and I know that this is probably true, that you have noticed yourself, is that when you go to help somebody else, you forget about yourself. And helping somebody else feels good inside of you. I know I'm not telling you rocket science. I know you've heard this. This is a reminder. Don't forget to do it if you want to be happier, if you want to gladden your mind. I love the term gladdening your mind as opposed to, hey, you want to be happy today? How about I want to gladden my mind? Now, the third step that she talks about, and this is what I want to talk a little bit more about, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the course that I've created and how all of this comes together. So the third step that she says is that you need to savor. Now, I did a whole podcast on savoring, and I want to talk about it here because it's the thing that I think makes the biggest difference to me, and it's the easiest thing to forget. Because the nature of our minds want to go to what's wrong and not what's right. But savoring means that when we notice or we feel something extremely joyful or positive, it's the nature of our mind to switch gears and go back to the negative as quickly as possible. Now, what she says, and in the teachings that she studied in Buddhism, what they have found is that if you can keep your mind in savoring mode for 15 to 30 seconds, that means if you notice a beautiful sunset, and I talk about sunsets because I just came back from Lake Michigan where we had this beautiful house that was overlooking, we were on a cliff overlooking the lake, and every day was a sunset. Now, these were beautiful sunsets. They were not like the sunsets I'm used to seeing, and I think all sunsets are lovely. But I made it a point that I would watch these sunsets with Michael, my husband, every night and just watch it go away. And I could feel this feeling in me about the miracle of life so easily watching that sun go down. I also noticed that as the sun was going down, and I was relating this to myself about what a miracle it is, and I can't believe it happens every day. And then not only that, the beauty of the whole thing, My brain wanted to move on to what's wrong and what do you have to do so quickly that there was no way I spent 15 to 30 seconds keeping my mind right there. So I wanted to do an experiment with you to show you what 15 seconds feels like. Because she said 15 to 30 seconds. So I'm just going to do 15 seconds with you. And what I want you to do is I want you to think about either you're in a moment right now where there's something for you to savor. I mean, maybe you're just feeling really grateful for something right now and you can savor that feeling. Or for me, one of my best memories that I love to go back to is the birth of my third grandchild when I was there. I will never forget that experience, even though my brain wants to forget it all the time and talk about what's wrong and all of that. That moment and what it did to me and how it felt in my body, I will never forget it. And the way I will never forget it is I will savor that moment often by pointing my mind to that memory and then holding it there for 15 seconds. So for you, you can either go to a memory that you remember that has that feeling, or maybe you can just conjure it up right this minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to time 15 seconds for you. 15 seconds on the podcast is going to feel kind of funny, but I want all of you that are listening right now to think of a moment, think of something. And when I say go, I want you to keep your mind on that until I tell you time is up. On your mark, get set, savor for 15 seconds now. Okay, time is up. That was 15 seconds. I can't wait to go back and hear this podcast to see what that sounds like to have that kind of empty space. But that was 15 seconds. She said 15 to 30 seconds. But what was it like for you if you took that moment and spent all 15 seconds keeping your mind on it? What does it feel like in your body right now? Now, I've given you examples. Like, I have a lot of beautiful moments with my husband. We have a beautiful relationship, and yes, we have problems. I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, it's just beautiful and there's nothing ever that goes wrong. I'm just saying, I do have a lovely relationship with my husband, and there are moments when I'm with him that I want to savor longer. They happen all the time. And I watch my brain just flit around so fast from these beautiful moments. And so I'm practicing that with him too, that when I'm with him, and either we have this moment together where it's very intimate, or we have this moment together where we're just laughing out loud, I savor it. I want to time it for 15 seconds, at least in my head. You all know what 15 seconds feels like now. You start practicing it enough that you know when it's 15 seconds. And I promise you, all the three things that I told you on how to gladden your mind, savoring is by far my favorite. So I want you to try that out this week. Now, as I'm speaking about savoring and joy, I want to remind you that I am offering a boot camp. However, I don't call it a boot camp. I call it a joy camp because it's filled with joy, but for 3 days, starting September 25th, 26th, and 27th, I will be meeting with you 1 hour a day, and I will be teaching you skills on how to manage your mind better. And I call it Jumpstart Your Brain. Because listen, if you want to lose weight, you have got to be able to get that brain under control. Because your brain is what controls the show. The way that I work and the way that I've taught over the years, and the reason I feel like my clients are so successful is because what I do is different from everybody else. I do not tell you what to eat. I almost don't even care what you eat, but I care a lot about what you're thinking. And I want to show you in these 3 days by coaching you or coaching somebody that you're listening to, what it's like to have your brain coached so that you can jumpstart it to do whatever you want. Now, in this, we're jumpstarting your brain to help you lose weight in menopause. And I'm going to tell you that I am not going to tell you on all 3 days, I'm not telling you what to eat. You're not going to hear any of that. The only thing you're going to hear is what can I think that's going to help me lose weight right now because I'm in the midst of menopause and nothing is working. I hear you, I hear the pain, and I hear it every day. And some of the things, the major point of this thinner piece process that I teach is, can you eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full? That's it. And after talking to thousands of women over the years, that is what trips everybody up is this. I don't even know when I'm hungry. I don't even know when I'm full. I've been doing diets for so long, I don't even know. I've been restricting myself for so long, I don't even know if I'm hungry. I don't even know if I'm full. I just know that sometimes I just want to eat. And I'll tell you what, when you're in menopause, if you've been thinking like that your whole life, that somehow eating is helping you feel better, and now you're in menopause, you feel worse. Menopause does not help you feel better in the beginning, right? Because there's a lot of imbalance going on. There's a lot going on inside you, outside you, and there's a lot to deal with. And I do believe that this phase of life will take you into your best phase of life if you use it correctly. Now, I use food and I use your weight to help you manage your mind. But as you'll hear from many, many of my clients, it's not about the food. That's all they ever say. As they lose weight and start to feel alive again, I just had one of my clients write me a letter and said, I feel alive again. I feel like myself. I feel better than myself. That's the point. Now, if you're one of those women and you've been struggling with weight your whole life and menopause is making all of this harder, then what I am offering you is for you. 3 days, an hour every day, where I will teach you how to help that brain and get it jump-started so that you can eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full and know what that means. Very, very important. And also to help you understand in your brain by jump-starting it what all this emotional stuff is all about and how if you're not feeding physical hunger, that it's emotional hunger. Now, most of the women I talk to, you know what they say? I don't even know what I'm feeling. I don't even know. Just like I don't even know if I'm hungry. I don't know. And that is because this is all the things that we're wired. We're supposed to know how we feel. We're supposed to know how to eat when we're hungry and stop when we're full. We were made that way. And through ongoing dieting, we have learned how to ignore our bodies and ignore our minds. And the purpose of this course, if you work with me, is to jumpstart that brain and get it going the way it's supposed to. So if this is interesting to you, you need to go to drdebbutler.com/jump and sign up to work with me on September 25th. And I'll tell you what, you'll learn something that'll change your life, guaranteed. So you know what you need to do first. You're going to gladden your mind this week. And you're going to gladden it by, number one, giving to others, especially when you feel at your worst. Number two, you're going to think of 3 things that you can be grateful for every day. Let's just say for the next 7 days. Every day, remind yourself of 3 things. And the third step, and my favorite step, is savoring a special moment over and over and over again for at least 15 seconds. And make sure it's 15 seconds because that's the research that shows that's what changes the brain. Otherwise, oh yeah, that was nice. 2 seconds and we're off to the races again. Oh, that's beautiful. And we're off to the races. Yeah, but I'm not enough and I don't do enough and I got all this stuff to do. Oh my gosh. Get that brain going. I'm going to help you jumpstart it. And right now, you're going to jump it by doing these 3 things as soon as you stop listening to me. And of course, I would never end this podcast without saying to you, no matter where you go, no matter who you're with, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.